The atmosphere, alone with Linda, was not as strained as one might expect. She wasn't a naturally guarded person. Once she had determined someone posed no threat, warming up to them took little effort. She asked about his line of work, her voice punctuated by the rhythmic plunge of her trowel into the dark soil. He was a professor, he told her. He saw her expression momentarily freeze, a brief, rigid stillness in her features. Her smile, when it returned, seemed less natural, less open than before. A professor, she repeated, the words sounding foreign on her tongue. He couldn't decipher her sudden reservation, so he added that he taught American literature at Lincoln University. Fearing the subject might sound obscure, he kept the description simple. Oh, she said. Lincoln U was a name that carried weight, a reputable institution known even in a place as disconnected as Langford Creek. Linda arched an eyebrow, her body half straightened in disbelief. She looked him up and down several times, nodding slowly. A university professor, she murmured, someone from the top tier, a different class of person entirely. Then, her expression clouded with confusion. She wondered aloud how a man like him had come to be friends with someone like them. A faint, unconscious self-mockery laced her words, a dismissal of herself and the generations raised in this town. It was the kind of self-deprecation that hinted at a deep well of both insecurity and pride, so ingrained it colored every word, every gesture. Ethan offered a small smile, suggesting that personal connections rarely had anything to do with status. It was a light, easy statement, one that required lived experience to hold any weight. Linda didn't believe it. To her, it was the kind of naive sentiment that didn't apply to the real world, though she was too polite to say so directly. Waving a hand dismissively, she went back to her digging. She muttered about how it could possibly have nothing to do with it. She asked him to consider it from her perspective. People like them, folks who grew up with dirt under their nails, the rich and powerful, would they really see them as equals, as friends? Ethan continued to explain gently that she was describing extremes. Linda seized on his choice of words, her brow furrowing with a profound sense of weary sorrow. She agreed that it was extreme because their lives were the very definition of extreme. The conversation, which had started so easily, had reached an impasse, a chasm of understanding between their two worlds. Ethan didn't rush to argue or break the silence. He crouched patiently on the edge of the garden bed, his finger extended, hoping to coax a passing monarch butterfly to land for a moment. People round here, Linda began again, her smile returning, were set in our ways. For life. She described them as uncultured, stubborn, one-track-minded. She told Ethan not to take it personally. He saw his opening. That's why, he said softly, the next generation's upbringing is so important. He believed this was a universal truth, the desire for children to surpass their parents. It was a hope etched into the very soul of American ambition. Tell me about it, Linda sighed, her thin chest rising and falling heavily. She glanced up at the sky, a small circular patch of hazy gray visible above the rooftops, like the view from the bottom of a well. It's hard, she breathed. Ethan asked her what, specifically, she found so difficult. It was as if he had opened a floodgate. Linda, sensing a safe and gentle audience, began to speak of things she normally kept locked away. She explained that folks in their town lacked education. Both her sons had dropped out of school early. They weren't like him, she said, not like the kind of people who were destined for more. Ethan rubbed a callus on his middle finger. I was actually thinking about Cody, he clarified. Cody? Linda looked at him, puzzled. She used the back of her hand, still holding the trowel, to push a stray, graying lock of hair from her forehead. A moment later, her mouth opened in a long, drawn-out O. She understood now. This was what he had wanted to talk about all along. Ethan smiled. Just casual conversation. He knew that if Linda and Leo couldn't discuss it calmly, he would have to mediate. It was his only way of helping Leo. He would have to act as an outsider, softening Leo's perspective to make it more palatable for his mother. It was a thankless task, one that could easily backfire and make him an enemy to both. It went against every instinct he had for self-preservation. Linda didn't seem to mind the topic. She acknowledged that Cody was a clever boy, quiet since he was little, but he understood everything. In that case, Ethan pressed gently, shouldn't you do everything in your power to give him the best opportunities? Linda paused. What power? Your best effort. To choose what's best for him. She laughed again, a bitter, self-mocking sound that carved deep lines beside her nose. Little Zhang, she said, her tone laced with a weary irony. What does best effort even mean? Everyone tries their best, don't they? But that effort has limits. A family isn't just one person. The main support beam can't hold up just one corner of the roof. If all the pressure goes to one spot, the whole thing comes crashing down. What about everyone else? Ethan remained silent, letting her continue. His father, Linda said, her voice dropping, you've seen him. And his older brother. You know why we had to come back here? She jammed the trowel into the earth, leaning her weight on it. Do you have any idea how much it costs to live in Lincoln? A year or two, maybe. But 3, 4, 10 or 8. By the time he's in high school, college. You look at his father. How high can that boy fly? And then what? You want him to come back to Langford Creek to look after his poor, crippled old man? Once he's seen the big wide world out there, you think he'll ever be able to settle his heart back here? Ethan's smile was gone. His voice, when he spoke, had a cool edge to it. So you'd rather just cut off his hopes before he even has a chance to dream? Linda's eyes suddenly dimmed, her eyelids drooping to obscure half her gaze. The monarch butterfly danced around the toe of her worn boot. Finally, she spoke, her voice raspy. I know I've got a bad temper. I'm what they call a shrew in those books. But I'm not an unreasonable person. If there was any other way, you think I'd be willing to chain my boy to this little patch of dirt? I wouldn't. I can't. Right now, I just don't have a choice. In that moment, a line from Anna Karenina came to Ethan's mind. Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Linda observed Ethan's unwavering calm, the peaceful set of his brow. She assumed he could never comprehend the lives of people at the bottom, the constant struggle, the looking over one's shoulder just to get by. It wasn't something you could summarize in a few sentences. Someone who hadn't lived it couldn't possibly understand from a few scattered words. The green juice from a snapped beanstalk stained her fingertips. She sighed, a barely audible breath. You young people, you hear this and you think I'm a cruel old woman. You don't understand. It's true, I haven't experienced it, Ethan admitted with a small smile. But I have heard a story. My father's. I don't know if it will mean anything to you. The story of Henry's education was a point of pride. A tale he told his children every year. It was a story of crawling forward on his hands and knees up a muddy mountain path. Henry had come from a family of poor farmers. Not from the state, but from Oklahoma, deep in the heartland. For generations, his family had worked the land, their world confined to what they could see under a bowl-sized patch of sky. But Henry was different. He refused to be content with his lot, studying in silence for years until he finally clawed his way out of that narrow, suffocating town. He graduated and became a teacher at a high school in a small town. Ethan spoke in a calm, narrative tone. He told her that in the year his father started teaching, his grandfather's family had only half a barrel of wheat left. They were dirt poor. That year was 1968. Linda listened, a flicker of a smile on her lips that quickly faded. 1968 in America was a powder keg. The country was roiled by protests against the war, by struggles for civil rights. The high school couldn't escape the turmoil. As a young, impassioned teacher, Henry's progressive views were quickly reported by more zealous members of the community. He was accused of baseless crimes against the town's values. He was dragged from his home, publicly shamed, his character torn from him and trampled into the dust. He was fired, blacklisted. Some of his colleagues who suffered similar fates gave up completely. It was hard to imagine, Ethan mused, if anyone today could feel more hopeless than they did back then. Linda said nothing. In the late 70s, when the political climate had cooled, a broke and solitary Henry applied to college on the GI Bill. He failed the first time. He tried again the next year and the year after that. Ethan couldn't help but smile at the memory. He told Linda that the people of that generation had an unshakable faith that knowledge could change their fate. After a long pause, Linda asked, almost playfully, if he ever made it. He did, finally, in his 30s. He graduated from Lincoln U and eventually became a researcher at the City Museum. Ethan wasn't trying to preach. He was simply holding up another's history as a mirror to their own reality, hoping it would illuminate the common threads. He explained that doing your best also meant choosing the right direction. Cody had potential. He was smart. Ethan's own daughter was his classmate and always said Cody worked harder than anyone. As a teacher, Ethan knew how precious that was. He didn't think small-town schools were bad. In fact, he believed they often produced more resilient children. But for Cody, staying here meant carrying too much too soon. It wasn't about whether he would succeed or fail, but about the choices available to him. To let him glimpse the outside world only to slam the door shut was crueler than keeping him blindfolded from the start. He suggested that, at the very least, they should ask Cody what he wanted. A family's misfortune, he argued, should never be a child's inheritance. Why should one child have to carry so much more weight than another? He paused, adjusting his glasses. Do you think I'm overstepping? Or that my words are just empty talk? Linda shook her head, almost imperceptibly at first, then considered for a moment. I'm just afraid he'll get a wild heart. Ethan smiled. He observed that people often fixate on low-probability risks. He asked her what she really meant by wild. Was she afraid he would forget his family, or that he would go too far for her to control him? He likened it to flying a kite. The higher you let it out, the easier it is to control the line and the direction. The tighter you hold onto something, the more likely you are to lose it. But we don't even have a place to live in Lincoln. We sold the house. How can we manage? I have an empty apartment in Lincoln. The lease is up in August. It's about 700 square feet, comfortable for 2 people. Good location in the old city, close to everything. The elementary school is a 15-minute walk. The rent, we can figure that out later. But if you're willing, you can stay as long as you need. Linda blinked. The elementary school has a direct feeder program to the best high school in the city. Ethan continued, laying out his case. The school also has full scholarships for exchange programs. I know connections matter for these things, and it might be early to talk about it, but if Cody ever needs help in the future, I'd be happy to extend that favor to you. The basket of beans was overflowing, but Linda didn't seem to notice. And while I don't know if he'll lean towards humanities or sciences, I can certainly help him with his studies through middle school. He can come to me with any questions, anytime. Tutoring in Lincoln is expensive right now. But for him, it will always be free. I can't promise to make him a genius, but I can at least keep him from going down what you might call the wrong path. If you trust me." A look of sheer, unadulterated shock was written across Linda's face. "So," Ethan asked gently, "do you have any other concerns?" He saw her hesitation and quickly added, "Please don't think I have some ulterior motive. I honestly don't." He thought about his own words and realized that wasn't entirely true. His motives were simple. He just wanted Leo to be happy, to see him smile. The silence that followed was longer than any before. Just as Ethan thought she wouldn't respond, Linda finally spoke. "Do you know what kind of man my son is?" The field of beans was neat and orderly around them. "I know." "Then, are you?" "I'm not." "Then why are you friends with him?" Ethan looked from the distant horizon to a single green stalk nearby. "If friendship is about sorting people into groups, as you say, then it's not friendship. It's just huddling together for warmth. This might sound strange, and you may not believe it, but friendship is more often about a connection between souls. You see a distinction between genders that you can't ignore. But you're limiting yourself. In the grander scheme of things, all of that can be accepted. You just don't believe it's possible yet." He looked directly at Linda. "You think you're unhappy, but he is far, far unhappier than you." Linda didn't respond. She pushed herself up from the ground, her knees cracking. She swayed, suddenly off balance, and as she started to fall, Ethan shot up and grabbed her arm, his foot sinking into a shallow, muddy trench. Leo had secretly scrolled through all of Ethan's social media posts 2 or 3 times over. He wasn't sure if it left a visitor record, so he always hesitated for a long time before closing the app. He noticed that Ethan often ordered shrimp at the university cafeteria. Out of a dozen posts about lunch, shrimp appeared 5 times. The area around Langford Creek had plenty of streams and lakes. The fish and crawfish sold at the market were far fresher than the farmed ones in the city. Leo had bought a bag of wriggling crawfish and a large catfish from an old man with a basket. He still had the $100 bill Linda had pressed on him, wondering how he could slip it back to her before he left. When he got back to the garden, he stopped dead in his tracks. He saw Ethan's soaked pant leg and shoe, splattered with mud. "Where did you get into a fight with a mud puddle?" Leo dropped his bags and rushed over, tugging at the dripping fabric. Ethan was at a loss to explain. "I just wasn't paying attention." Leo looked up. "You can step into a ditch just by standing still?" "Oh dear," Linda interjected, pulling a faded bandana from her wrist and starting to dab at Ethan's leg. "It was me. I stood up too fast and lost my balance. Little Zheng here rushed to help and stepped right in the ditch. Just look at this mess." Ethan quickly bent down to steady her. "It's all right, ma'am, I can get it. I'll do it." Leo took the bandana from his mother. He knelt and began wiping at the dark spots on the black fabric. "Go back and change. This needs to be washed now, it'll be a pain once it dries." Ethan leaned on his knees, his voice sounding just above Leo's head. "I'm going to have worn every piece of clothing in your house by the time I leave." He joked that if he grew a beard, he'd be indistinguishable from the locals, except for his slightly too fancy name. Leo rolled up the wet cuff, revealing a section of calf covered in a fine layer of dark hair. "We could call you Hank. Sounds folksy." Ethan laughed and stepped back. "No, don't worry about it. I'll wring it out myself." Leo stopped, looked up into the sun, and squinted. A smile touched the corners of his eyes. "We have fresh dill at home. For the fish and crawfish tonight." Linda said nothing more. She stood to the side, tidying the basket of beans, taking stock of the groceries Leo had brought back. She glanced over at the 2 of them. Ethan's words were settling in her mind. They made sense. She had suffered her whole life from a lack of education, unable to articulate the profound truths she knew only through experience. Ethan had laid out all the pros and cons in a simple, understandable way. He had offered solutions. The only remaining problem was her own agreement. She was not afraid to make decisions, but she was terrified of making one that would limit Cody's boundless future. She could be fiercely protective, but her foresight was shallow, piecemeal. She too, for all her pride, had moments where she longed for an easier path. Anyone drowning would grasp at a straw, and the hand offering it felt impossibly detached. If his efforts were discovered to have a deeper, hidden motive, it would all become clouded. Even as the one being rescued, she couldn't help but wonder, why him? Why was he doing this? She knew her son's every nuance. His joy and sorrow were fleeting ripples, but they were there to be seen if you looked closely. She tried to remember the last time Leo had truly smiled in front of her. His mouth seemed to be a permanent, thin line, a fissure in rock that had weathered over years. He'd had a snaggletooth as a boy. She couldn't even recall if it was still there. But just now, Leo's smile hadn't been on his lips. It had been in his eyes. A shimmer of light, like a watercolor painting of Langford Creek's weeping willows and misty bridges. You think you're unhappy, but he is far, far unhappier than you. Sometimes parents get so caught up in the battle with their children, their position so entrenched, that they forget the original goal. It becomes a long game of not losing. But what is the prize for the winner? What is the penalty for the loser? It ceases to matter. From the simple hope of grow up safe, it evolves into a cascade of hopes, disappointments, and finally, despair. The bets get bigger, more desperate. You become more stubborn, refusing to back down, gripping the reins so tightly your nails dig into your own palms. Your hands are bloodied, and his neck bears the dark, indelible mark of the rope. And for what? Sooner or later, grow up safe gets lost somewhere along the way. The butterfly, weary from its flight, finally rested on a white blossom. Linda tucked a stray hair behind her ear and hooked the basket onto her thin arm. Let's go home. Take those pants to the creek to wash. The sun is strong. They'll dry in no time. Leo carried a dark wooden wash tub, a scoop of soap flakes, and a wooden paddle nearly the length of his forearm. The people of Langford Creek were wary of modern conveniences. If someone used a newfangled gadget, the others, for some strange and complex reason, would whisper behind their back, accusing them of forgetting their roots, of trying to be different. The pants Ethan changed into belonged to Leo's brother. They were a crisp pair of polyester slacks, and on Ethan's taller frame, they became capris. Leo's brother, honest and simple in his praise, declared Ethan had the longest legs he'd ever seen in his life. "My mom didn't say anything to you, did she?" Leo asked as they walked beneath a low earthen wall on the way to the creek. Ethan kept pulling at the too short pant legs. "What do you think she could have said?" asked. "About our relationship." Ethan turned his head and smiled, deliberately turning the question back on him. "What would you say our relationship is?" It was the simplest of questions, but Leo found he couldn't answer. They passed through a narrow alley where the houses grew denser. Smoke curled from a few chimneys, and the sounds of distant voices and barking dogs reached them. Ethan reached for the wooden tub, but Leo instinctively pulled it back. He stopped abruptly and looked back at Ethan. The tension between them suddenly stretched taut. "Could you wait here for a minute? Let me go ahead and then you can follow." "What's wrong?" Leo didn't answer, just repeated, "Can you?" Seeing he didn't want to explain, Ethan didn't press. He nodded. He saw a flicker of panic in Leo's eyes. "Okay." He stood his ground, watching Leo's back dissolve in the hazy light at the end of the alley. Dust motes danced in the air, each one a tiny planet in a vast universe. Leo walked quickly, head down, almost fleeing. Just as Ethan began to wonder if he'd ever catch up, a shrill, mocking voice echoed from a nearby crossroads. "Well, well, look what the cat dragged in. Isn't it Leo?" Leo's back went rigid. He couldn't walk so fast anymore. A woman with a sunflower seed shell stuck to her bottom lip sauntered towards him. She spit out another 2 shells with a wet flick of her tongue. Her smile, in the harsh sunlight, looked like a wilting yellow flower on a rotting pumpkin. "Aunt Lisa." Leo turned, his expression a mixture of calm and turmoil. The woman slapped her fleshy thigh with a loud thwack, as if genuinely remembering something. "Oh my, I heard your brother got in a car accident in the city. Been laid up for a while now. Is that right?" she asked, leaning in closer. Leo smiled first, then nodded. "Yes." She clapped her hands together. "Oh, what a shame. I asked your father about it a few times, but you know him, quiet as a fish. I thought someone was just spreading nasty rumors. TSK, TSK. It's fate, I suppose." "Yes, it's fate." "Well, it must be. I mean, why is it that nothing bad happens to anyone else but your family?" She trailed off, catching herself, and gave a weak laugh. She slapped her own cheek lightly. "Look at me running my mouth. I didn't mean anything by it. Don't you pay me no mind, you hear? It's all right." Leo readjusted his grip on the tub. Aunt Lisa's husband emerged from the house with a mug in his hand. He spotted Leo and his mustache twitched. "Well, I'll be. It's Leo. What brings you back? Getting engaged or getting married?" He chuckled at his own joke. Lisa nudged him with her elbow. "You and your big mouth. He's a free spirit living that modern life. What would a country bumpkin like, you know? He's been out making it in the big city. You think he'd settle for someone from this backwater place?" The man kept laughing as he backed away. Right, a free spirit." Leo watched their exchange in silence. The woman clutched a handful of sunflower seeds. "But I'm telling you, Leo, your mother. She's had it rough. First your father, then you, then your sister-in-law, and now your brother. Maybe it's the feng shui of your house? You should go to the temple, pay a master to fix it. You know, with these things, it's better to be safe than sorry." "Lisa, why don't you shut your damn mouth?" Another woman's voice suddenly snapped from behind Leo. He nearly dropped the tub. A window in the dark house had been thrown open, revealing a woman in an apron, plucking at a handful of greens. She had short hair, thin eyebrows, and the sharp features of someone not to be trifled with. "Aunt Song, you've gotten thinner, Leo," the woman said, her sharp eyes scanning him up and down. Her mouth hovered in a shape that wasn't quite a smile. A dark shadow fell across the ground at Leo's feet, deeper than a storm cloud. "It's better that you don't come back." "Really?" The sound of her snapping the stems of the greens was sharp, like a tiny collapse. "Who here treats you like a human being?" Lisa, the first woman, popped another seed in her mouth and spoke in a sing-song, mocking tone. "Oh, listen to you. Who doesn't treat who like a human being? Don't you talk in riddles. Whoever answers is who I'm talking about. Oh, you and your clever mouth." Lisa spat a shower of shells onto the ground and stormed inside, yelling for her daughter to come sweep up the mess. The screen door slammed shut. Aunt Song leaned against the window frame. "You know what she's like." Her mouth was born before the rest of her. "You see her, you should just walk away. Otherwise she'll go around telling everyone this and that. It's your mother who has the hardest time of it." Leo looked up at her, his eyes dark in the shade. The woman's hands paused for a fraction of a second over her greens before resuming their rapid, practiced movements. "So, this place," Leo said, his voice cold and quiet. "I'm just not allowed to leave?" It was the one sentence Ethan couldn't quite hear. Leo's voice was too small, almost a whisper. He couldn't go forward. It wasn't about fear or avoidance. Logic was a fine thing, but it didn't apply to every situation. Leo had asked him to stay back, and he couldn't go against his wishes. If he were 10 years younger, he thought he wouldn't have been able to resist. He would have stormed up there, shouted them down, and pulled Leo into a tight embrace, shielding him from the world until the storm passed. "Now you're just being contrary," Aunt Song said. "Was that what I meant? You can't fight fate. That's just how the world is. You shouldn't always be trying to change others or change society. You have to learn to change yourself." She smiled, a strange, ambiguous expression. Couldn't be called right, but it couldn't be called wrong either. Leo felt a lump in his throat. He suddenly remembered that this woman had been the ethics teacher at the local middle school before she retired. Langford Creek was a narrow box, full of mud and sand. Some people's faces were permanently fixed in the snarling grimace of a gargoyle, their malice open and undisguised. Others affected an air of worldly compassion, their mouths spouting rivers of wisdom while their hearts remained small and closed. They judged others with self-assurance, their words dressed up in pretty language, sharp as needles that left no scar. Langford Creek was a microcosm of society's underbelly, each person playing their part. No one could steal another's scene. The creek was surrounded by sparse woods and creeping vines, fed by a cool mountain spring. It was the perfect place to escape the summer heat. The summer was still young, but the lush green was already full of dreams and possibilities. The reflection of the clouds rippled on the water's surface, dissolving into patterns with every disturbance. It was the first time Ethan had seen someone wash clothes with a wooden paddle. The handle was worn smooth from use. Each thwack sent a spray of water droplets onto his pant legs. "Find it interesting?" Leo asked, grabbing a handful of soap flakes and scooping up water to work them into a lather. "Yes, very." Ethan suspected Leo had never used a washing machine in his life. The soap flakes didn't produce many suds and felt rough to the touch, but they washed clothes to a brilliant, clean white. Automated dishwashers, washing machines, robot vacuums. About the only thing they haven't automated is washing your hair, Ethan mused. "You don't get it. Progress depends on people like me." Leo set down the paddle and began gently rubbing the fabric. "You're good at patting yourself on the back. The creek's not as big as your ego." Luckily, Ethan's pants were cotton and didn't shrink or fade. Otherwise, Leo wouldn't have dared to wash them. Sometimes, a person's inner world is a rich and complex place, no matter how quiet or stoic they appear on the outside. It all depends on the task at hand and the person they're with. Like in school, when your notebook was stacked next to the one belonging to the person you liked, and your heart would flutter. Or reading a book and searching for the letters that made up their name, finding them and pretending they were a character in the story. Now, washing someone else's clothes, he found himself unconsciously measuring the length of the leg, his fingers brushing against the button that had rested against the small of his back. Ethan didn't stand beside Leo. He was taller, so he moved down a step to a wider stone ledge. This allowed Leo, when Ethan wasn't looking, to secretly trace the outline of his profile. The high bridge of his nose was a feature best appreciated from the side. The straight line of it bespoke intellect and bearing. The gentle curve at the end hinted at an introspective nature. Ethan, he thought, was very American in a classic old-world way. Not slick or cynical, but possessing a quiet dignity, like a New England intellectual. He was like the turn of the seasons from late summer to early autumn, cool and refreshing, but with a persistent underlying warmth. About Cody's situation, Ethan said, turning to look at him. Leo had been lost in thought and was caught staring. He jerked his head away, facing the water, and touched his nose in a gesture of feigned nonchalance, his gaze unfocused. I spoke with your mother. Ethan reached out, his fingers resting on Leo's cheek, and gently turned his face back towards him. His thumb brushed away a speck of white soap foam from the tip of his nose. As an outsider, I did as much as I could. Your mother asked about our relationship, but I kept my answer objective. As for whether she'll agree, whether she believes me, I can't give you 100% guarantee right now. But I saw a crack in her resolve. The foam dissolved under Ethan's thumb. I found a place I haven't had a chance to tell you. 700 square feet, good location and affordable. You can move in August. You'll only have to stay at the old apartment for another month or two. He paused, his tone growing more confident. You go back and talk to Cody. Make sure he's determined to stay in Lincoln and study. Nothing is more important than his own desire. If there are any other problems, you have to tell me. Whatever I can do, I'll handle it for you. Leo suddenly found the words thank you difficult to say. He was frustrated that everything seemed so effortless for Ethan, and frustrated by his own insignificance, his inability to return even a fraction of the kindness he was shown. A thin cloud moved away, and the sunlight became direct and dazzling. All he could do was nod dumbly, his eyes fixed on the collar of Ethan's shirt. Do people here treat you like that often? Leo's gaze drifted upwards to meet Ethan's eyes. He wasn't sure if his own reaction time was slow, or if Ethan had been hesitating all this time to ask. Treat me how? He asked, his emphasis on the how. You don't think that's how they treat you? Ethan asked with a small smile. He had misunderstood. He thought Leo was downplaying it. But what Leo really meant was that it wasn't just being treated poorly. It was humiliation. I guess Leo admitted. It's always been like this. He stopped himself from adding the usual I'm used to it. That small, defiant bit of bravado had been silently dismantled by Ethan's unwavering presence. You really can't spend too long in the springtime. Its gentle power is immense and transformative. Why? Why what? Why do they say those things about you? Leo wasn't afraid of reopening old wounds. The pain was secondary. He wasn't afraid of pain. But the scar was ugly. He was afraid of how it looked, afraid of scaring people away and embarrassing himself. He could never be sure that every person who seemed kind was truly, genuinely accepting. He was afraid they would see the part of him they couldn't tolerate and fly away in a panic. And it didn't matter if they left, as long as they didn't come back and start throwing stones. Besides, his situation hadn't been entirely one-sided. To paint himself as an innocent minor and place all the blame on someone else felt like a cop-out, like making himself out to be more important than he was. As a result, his endurance of all the subsequent abuse was tinged with a sense of self-blame, a feeling that he had brought it on himself. You want to hear about it? Leo asked, wringing out the pant leg. I do. Some people are so sensitive that asking a question is more emotionally fraught than answering it. But Ethan's tone was calm and straightforward. Yes, I want to hear the story you mentioned last time. After I tell you, you can't look down on me. Ethan adjusted his glasses and smiled at him. At this time of day, the creek was deserted. The sky was a vast blue canopy, the sunlight soft. It was too beautiful a day for sorrow. So Leo, wanting to begin with something startling and lighthearted, pointed to the stone step at Ethan's feet. He tried for a playful wink. Would you believe it? Right where you're standing. I tried to drown myself in this creek more than a decade ago. Splash. Leo omitted the man's name, a volunteer teacher. He spoke slowly, his eyes on the faint line of blue mountains in the distance. For some people, retelling a painful story can dilute the trauma. The act of speaking becomes a form of self-therapy. For others, the pain is always present. 10, 20, 30 years later, the flesh beneath the scar is still raw and tender. Leo's expression was so placid that Ethan initially thought he was the first type. It wasn't until he spoke of being expelled, of how crying did no good, that a fleeting catch in his voice, sharp and clear, made Ethan realize his mistake. He was the second type, the kind that would always break your heart. Alice Munro wrote in Runaway about how everyone eventually encounters something, or someone, that feels like a fatal needle has been lodged somewhere in their lung. You might not feel it with shallow breaths, but whenever you need to take a deep breath, you feel its constant, sharp presence. Most observers can't comprehend that kind of pain. It's too ethereal, too indescribable. Complain about it too much and you become a nuisance. On a grand scale, it's a human tragedy. On a small scale, it's a young person's reckless mistake. But any comment on it, even a comforting one, inevitably feels condescending. There's no avoiding it. What must Leo have been like back then? Ethan wondered. How tall, how thin? What size school uniform did he wear? Was his skin even paler then, almost translucent? How often did he smile and in what situations? For whom? Ethan found that his thoughts weren't following the narrative of Leo's story. Instead, they were calm, like listening to a gentle string melody. He couldn't quite say why. Perhaps the daily grind of his own life had dulled his capacity for deep empathy. But there was a moment of hesitation, a realization that the secret burden he had always sensed in Leo was now laid bare in his hands. And he wondered, could he truly lift it from him? Could he take his hand and help him walk forward? Faster? Let me see your face. The place you mentioned. Leo turned his head, tilting his cheek up and tucking his hair behind his ear. Here. The angle accentuated the sharp line of his jaw. A fortune teller might say such a feature belonged to a cold, ruthless person. But that was a baseless assumption. Where was Leo ruthless? His heart, though battered, was clear and soft. He was simply thin. The scar was a raised, dark red mark, ringed by a lighter, brownish-red discoloration. It's not that noticeable, really, Ethan said, his fingers brushing over it once, then returning for a second, lighter touch. I usually cover it up with, the stuff girls use for makeup. With his face turned, the corners of his eyes tilted upwards slightly. Do you think it's effeminate? No. You answered too quickly. It's not believable. Ethan adjusted his glasses. Let me think about it. No, I really don't think so. Leo raised an eyebrow at him. For a moment, they looked at each other, and then they both broke into smiles. Leo strung a thin nylon rope between two trees to hang the freshly washed clothes. In the tub was one of his brother's heavy winter jackets, saturated with water. It sagged heavily on the line, the cuffs and hem dragging on the ground. Ethan helped him tie the rope higher up on a branch. Leo stood beneath him, looking up. A text message from his friend Henry vibrated in his pocket. Leo opened it. Negative. The word was stripped of all emotion, not even an exclamation point. Leo himself felt a strange mix of relief and numbness. He looked up from the screen at Ethan's long fingers securing the knot high above. Life was so strange. Good things, bad things, they all happened so suddenly, like a sudden shower or a burst of blossoms. What are your plans for later? Leo asked, shaking out the pants and stretching on his toes to hang them on the line. I need to go to the clinic and talk to a doctor, rearrange the bed at home, and buy disposable bed pads, pillowcases, straws, towels. On the way, I have to stop by the DMV. My brother's license is still being held by the police in Lincoln. If you're worried about Czar, you can head back after lunch. I can take the bus back myself tonight. That's not what I meant, Ethan said. I meant, can you go somewhere with me tomorrow? Tomorrow? Where? Leo turned to look at him. Evergreen Cemetery. Before he left that night, Leo saw a hesitation in Linda's eyes for the first time. They both had something to say, yet neither spoke. He had little money left. He quietly tucked $3,000 into the inner pocket of his brother's overcoat. As he was leaving, his brother came shakily to the door to see him off. Ethan was waiting by the car. It was the first time he had seen the night sky over Langford Creek. It was a vast, deep ocean. The crescent moon shattered into a fine powder and scattered across its surface. The evening wind rustled through the trees. Ethan caught the scent of sunshine and clean laundry on himself. He turned his head and saw Leo walking towards him. Linda stood in the doorway behind him. She raised a hand in a small, distant wave, then pressed her lips together and gave Ethan a slight, respectful bow. It was more than a gesture of farewell or thanks. It felt like an earnest, unspoken plea. Evergreen Cemetery was on the west side of the city, near the hills. Ethan almost didn't recognize Leo. He had dyed his hair back to black. A deep, inky black. He'd also had it cut much shorter, the bangs trimmed away to reveal a clean forehead and the nape of his neck. Why did you? It's getting hot. The old style was starting to feel stuffy. Leo walked slowly to the car, ducking his head and scratching the top of his hair, his expression something between a smile and not. It's been a long time since I had it black, so does it look bad? Is it too black? My boss said it was too obvious, that people would be able to tell right away. He told me to go for a dark brown, but I didn't listen. I was afraid it would fade. I didn't say it looked bad. Huh? Ethan gently tapped the space between his eyebrows. It looks really good. It was true. Leo had the kind of classic features, long brows, clear eyes, that were perfectly complemented by the short, dark hair. It sharpened his features, made his profile look clean and handsome. Without the flamboyant red, he looked like a bright, handsome student. He was as clear and refreshing as a handful of creek water. The sight of him made Ethan's heart ache. Get in. Evergreen Cemetery was the largest public cemetery in Lincoln. It was lined with short, slender pine trees and had a small, tasteful pond with a few red koi. An orange-red pomegranate blossom fell into the water, its color mirroring the flick of a koi's tail. Leo never asked who they were visiting. In a cemetery, it could only be someone who had passed. He didn't dwell on how this person might be connected to him. Ethan walked ahead, occasionally pausing to let Leo catch up. After they turned down a white gravel path, Leo fell a few steps behind again. You're making me want to hold your hand to keep you here, Ethan said, turning back with a low laugh. He adjusted the bouquet of yellow chrysanthemums in his arms. Leo kept his head down and quickened his pace, showing only the crown of his dark hair. Long-legged freak with a belly button that splits in two. All right then. Ethan actually reached out, but instead of his hand, he caught the sleeve of Leo's shirt. Is this how you usually talk to me, Leo didn't pull away. He just smiled and touched his nose. My apologies, Professor Zhang. One more slip-up and you'll fail my class for the semester, Mr. Chow. Leo had initially thought they were visiting his daughter's mother. But then he saw the photograph on the tombstone in front of them. It was a man only a few inches tall in the photo, black and white, with a clear, peaceful expression. His eyebrows were thick and full, set under a high forehead, giving his whole face a gentle, kind look. Leo didn't recognize him. The marble headstone was a pale, smoky gray, with a vertical line of gold leaf characters. Beloved son, Julian. A flash of insight connected disparate things across time and space. Julian was J.E. G.E. was the signature on the note. The note that said, "You are in my thoughts, not a day goes by." It was him. Leo watched Ethan bend down and place the chrysanthemums in front of the tombstone. "Handsome?" Ethan asked, straightening up and looking at him with a half-smile. Leo glanced at the photo on the stone again and gave a polite nod. "Very handsome. That's not the right answer." Leo sighed and ran a hand through his short hair. "Very handsome, but not as handsome as you. Full marks." Ethan snapped his fingers and gestured to the tombstone. "He was my college roommate." He said it casually, with none of the grief that should accompany a visit to the dead. It was as if he were making a routine introduction at a dinner party. In Ethan's memory, Julian was an unremarkable person. Quiet, reserved, too self-contained. He had built a wall around himself, neither venturing out nor letting anyone in. It made him an outsider. Being an outsider in college was a more sophisticated affair than in high school, but not by much. People pretended to ignore him, but they couldn't truly disregard him. They would whisper about him, dying to dissect him and see what made him tick. As roommates, Ethan hadn't paid much attention to anyone. There were the usual petty squabbles over chores, but the cold shoulder they all gave Julian was a united front. No one offered to grab him a meal from the cafeteria. Ethan didn't either. If he missed a notice in the group chat, no one reminded him. Ethan didn't either. If he wore his t-shirt inside out, everyone else would just snicker quietly. Ethan didn't laugh, but he didn't say anything either. Even when he was right behind them, they would let the door swing shut, forcing him to use his own key. Sometimes, ignoring someone is a form of ostracism. No one could quite put their finger on what made Julian different, and that frustrating ambiguity was what made them dislike him. Ethan wasn't just following the crowd, but he didn't want to be the one to stick his neck out either. Conforming to the group is human nature, he told himself. That changed one night in their sophomore year. It was the only time Julian forgot his key. He hesitated outside the door for a long time before knocking softly. 2 taps, then silence. No one was asleep, but no one moved. Nearly 10 minutes passed. Just when they thought he had given up, there were 2 more soft taps. Still, no one moved. 2 of them rolled over and pulled their blankets up. One turned up the volume on his headphones. Ethan turned a page in his book, pretending the sound was just a cricket chirping. "I think you're the one who finally opened the door," Leo said suddenly. Ethan laughed. "So certain?" "Yes." Leo nodded. Ethan was simply annoyed by the weak, hesitant knocking. He snapped his book shut, got out of bed, and slid on his slippers. As he walked to the door, one of the guys on the top bunk peeked over and started to say something, but Ethan ignored him. He unlocked the door and pulled it open, squinting in the bright hallway light. "Where have you been so late?" Julian, with his ever-present headphones, mouthed "I'm sorry," but didn't make a sound. He looked up at Ethan, surprised that he would ask. It was then that Ethan noticed his eyes were clear and bright, not filled with the sorrow he had imagined. "Don't be out so late next time." Without waiting for a reply, Ethan left the door ajar and went back to bed. It was only after he had turned off his lamp that he heard a muffled, "Okay." The guilt of his petty cruelty vanished. and his pillow suddenly felt much softer. After that, Julian remained a loner, but the way he looked at Ethan changed. There was a new stickiness to his gaze, as if it could spin invisible threads that attached to Ethan's hair, his collar, his cuffs, his waist, his shoes. Ethan was acutely aware of this constant, unblinking attention. It would dart away and then return, brushing over every part of him except his face. He felt as though Julian were counting the stitches on his clothes. Leo listened, an indescribable feeling welling up inside him. It was as if something he cherished had been treasured by someone else long ago, quietly and from a distance. He was the latecomer at a disadvantage from the start. So he was, into you, Leo said, trying to sound teasing. I could feel it, Ethan said, his eyes on the tombstone. And honestly, it drove me crazy. I wanted to ask him, what do you want? What did I do to make you look at me like that? It was unintentional. Julian, who used to sit in the back of the class, started sitting directly behind Ethan. If Ethan moved up a row, Julian stayed put. When they turned in assignments, he would place his on Ethan's desk first. Ethan would point towards the professor, and only then would Julian slowly take it to the front. The unspoken, all-encompassing attention made Ethan finally understand why he was different. But he had no reason to be angry. Julian hadn't actually done anything. Liking someone, looking at someone, that was his right. Leo said nothing. Ethan shoved his hands in his pockets. The other guys in the class were not oblivious. It didn't take them long to figure it out. They acted as if they had solved a great mystery, while also finding it absurdly funny. I didn't get it, Ethan said. I just felt like an innocent bystander. Why was I, who had done nothing, suddenly the subject of their gossip? It wasn't my fault. It had nothing to do with me. During their senior year fitness test, one by one, the guys handed their jackets to Julian, who was standing on the sidelines. Julian tried to refuse, pushing the clothes back, but they just kept passing them to him with knowing smirks. The 1,500-meter run left Ethan breathless and dizzy. As he stumbled back to the benches, he saw Julian holding a neat pile of clothes, including his. The soft headphone cord dangled over the fabric. The sun beat down on his head. His heart pounded, and the gazes of the others became hot and explicit. Someone let out a wolf whistle and shouted, "Ethan's wife," and the group erupted in laughter, the tone somewhere between friendly and cruel. Julian, his face full of apology, held out the clothes. Ethan stood frozen, refusing to take them. "I'm not like you. I don't like men. Am I making myself clear?" Ethan remembered the apologetic smile freezing on Julian's lips, the warmth in his eyes instantly extinguished. Leo watched Ethan as he spoke, a faint smile on his own lips. "I didn't even swear. I thought what I said was perfectly reasonable. My only mistake was saying it in front of so many people. Denying his right to be who he was. He wasn't different. He was just like me." What happened after? Things went back to normal, but he became even more withdrawn. After graduation, he went abroad to study. He came back with a boyfriend, came out to his family, and all hell broke loose. They kicked him out. Years later, he was on his way to see me, someone he hadn't contacted in years. He got into a car accident on the highway. He died instantly. Ethan paused, the smile never leaving his lips. To this day, I still wonder what he was coming to tell me. I hope he was coming to yell at me, to curse me for what I said, for opening the door for him only to slam it shut in his face. A light breeze rustled through the cemetery. Leo felt a knot in his chest, light as fluff but painfully tight. Not a day goes by. He couldn't have been coming to yell at you. But Leo, selfishly, didn't want to tell Ethan about the note. Not at all. So, Leo asked, his voice low, the reason you've been so good to me. Is it because you know I'm like him? Is it guilt? Ethan turned to look at him. That's what I wanted to tell you. That day at the temple when I realized you were like him. I did think that you were similar. Seeing you always made me think of him. Leo's hands clenched at his sides. At first, it wasn't that I was being good to you, but yes, there was guilt. It takes getting older to understand a lot of things. But the person I needed to apologize to was already dead. So I redirected that kindness to someone else. Ethan stepped closer to Leo, who was staring at the ground. He smiled gently and brushed his hand through Leo's dark hair. In the beginning, it really was like that. Later on, seeing you would still occasionally remind me of Julian, but not because you were like him. It was because you were so different. He was the type to accept his fate. Once he hit rock bottom, he was content to stay there. You're not like him. You fight harder every single second. You're stubborn and proud, carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. But you're also so gentle and kind, purer than anyone I know. Every time I see you, I think you're incredible. You always manage to digest all the bad things in private, and all that's left is your kindness to others, your hope for a better life. You're like a little sun. Ethan cupped Leo's face in his hands. His skin was burning hot. And then I realized I was being good to you because of you. The way you smile, the way you talk, the things you do, the way you cut my hair and fold my clothes. Just you standing here. I find you adorable. I like you. My heart beats faster when I'm with you. Leo's sharp intake of breath was audible. His body trembled. He looked up, his eyes wide. Confessing in a cemetery was probably morbid and ridiculous. But Ethan didn't care. He couldn't wait any longer. He wanted to hold him, to kiss him. I really, really like you. Ethan leaned down and pressed his lips to Leo's smooth forehead. What did it feel like to be told such things? Before this moment, Leo had no idea. It wasn't like the satisfaction of scrubbing a pair of sneakers clean and watching them drip dry in the sun. It wasn't like the joy of seeing a favorite flower bloom in early spring. Those feelings were too pure. This was a whirlwind of panic and elation, of confusion and heart-pounding emotion. Wait, Leo's face was flushed, his heart pounding. He covered his forehead, not knowing where to look. The warmth of Ethan's lips lingered, a phantom touch that seemed to melt the very bone beneath. Professor Zhang. Ethan wanted to move closer, to see the emotion swimming in his eyes more clearly. But he could see Leo was panicking. Even though he knew he should press his advantage, he couldn't bear to push him any further. Did I scare you? Leo nodded, then quickly shook his head. I heard what you said. I'm going to wait for you by the south gate. He turned, gave a shallow bow towards the tombstone, glanced one last time at the black and white photo, and walked away, his head down. Ethan didn't stop him. He watched his slender back retreat. His steps hurried, until he disappeared around a bend in the path. He was clearly overwhelmed and had fled. Ethan sighed, rubbing the back of his neck with a helpless smile. He turned back to Julian's photo. Was that too much? For you and for him? The man in the photo just smiled his gentle, unchanging smile. The tombstone was clean, not a speck of dust on it. A colorful wreath had been carefully placed around it. Ethan came here twice a year, but this year was an exception. This was his third visit. It's always hardest to let go of the things you can't fix. But after the fact, people always try to assign blame, to find the person responsible, the spark that lit the fuse. After all these years, Ethan knew. He was the one responsible. The spark was that door. He should never have opened it. For people like Julian and like Leo, emotion worked differently. It wasn't that it was deeper or more delicate, but that it grew in a slightly different direction. For most men, kindness from another man would grow from appreciation into deep friendship. The path to love would be avoided. But for some, that kindness, that unintentional warmth, could bypass friendship and lead directly to love. The timing of his opening the door for Julian had been all wrong. He had offered a glimmer of warmth in a moment of utter confusion, and Julian had mistaken him for a beacon in the darkness. But with Leo, it was different. He was aware, he was conscious of his actions. Every gesture had a purpose. This wasn't just because he was older now with different priorities. It was because his experience with Julian had taught him what to do and what not to do, what to say and what not to say. If the man on the tombstone wanted to accuse him of being a hypocrite, of using someone else to find his own salvation, Ethan would have no defense. His guilt was profound, and redirecting his kindness couldn't erase it. But time marches on, and even the deepest regrets fade. All he could do now was visit Julian's grave and look after his aging, grief-stricken parents. The words "if only" have no meaning for the dead. But liking Leo, that was something he couldn't control. He was drawn to him deeply and irresistibly. "I'm sorry," Ethan said, straightening up and bowing deeply to the tombstone. "I've disturbed your peace again. Because of me." Leo felt like he was floating for 3 days. It was a long, gentle intoxication. Ethan had said he liked him. He had said it clearly several times. His brain felt like an LED screen, replaying Ethan's every word on a continuous loop, accompanied by a soundtrack that shifted from classical violin to heavy metal. Sleep was impossible. He would lie on the creaky cot in the dim hospital room, trying not to move and wake his brother and Cody. The little figures in his head were not only singing and dancing but setting off fireworks, bursts of red and blue that filled his mind with dazzling stars. He was happy, of course. He liked Ethan so much. But the hesitation, the panic, was like a brand new suit on a fat man. The fabric is beautiful. You love it. But when you put it on, it's tight and uncomfortable, a constant reminder of your own flaws. Age, family, status, and the fundamental difference in their orientations. With his mind elsewhere, he became clumsy. He knocked over his brother's thermos, spilling hot porridge all over the hallway. He used the wrong color dye on a client, turning her desired chocolate brown into a chestnut red. It was only because she was easygoing that his boss didn't have to compensate her with a $1,000 gift card. Then he forgot to pick up Cody from school. It wasn't until dusk, when Ethan's car horn beeped softly downstairs, that Leo snapped back to reality. Cody came upstairs first and knocked. Leo opened the door, looked around, and after a moment's hesitation, hurriedly changed his shoes. "Be right back," he said, and flew down the stairs. It was always like this when he went to see Ethan, a rush of joy that overshadowed everything else. He was a moth to a flame, but this was no fire. This was real light. Leo saw Ethan waiting by the car, a tall, silent statue in the fading light. He was leaning against the door, clearly waiting for him. "I thought you'd be gone," Leo said, the memory of the kiss making his forehead tingle. "I knew you'd come down," Ethan said with his usual smile. "I already dropped Zhao off at home." Leo sighed, rubbing his forehead. "You left her home alone again?" "No, she's at the neighbor's." Ethan walked forward and ruffled Leo's hair. "Sorry. Did I break your forehead with that kiss?" Leo couldn't meet his eyes, but he couldn't pull away from the warmth of his presence either. He mumbled something between a complaint and a laugh. "It's been so hot every day. I thought I was going to grow a third eye." Ethan pressed his thumb to the spot. "Really?" A cool evening breeze swept by, mingling with the touch of his finger in Leo's hair, as if the dusk itself were helping to cool his burning skin. The old apartment complex had no amenities to speak of. For two people who just wanted to walk side by side in the evening, all they could do was look up at the trees. The fading sunlight filtered through the leaves, dappling the pavement with shifting patterns of orange light. Everything I said that day, Ethan began, every word was true. It wasn't on impulse. It's what I've wanted to tell you for a long time. Was that improvised? Leo asked with a smile. Ethan laughed. Completely. Children ran past them, laughing and chasing each other. An elderly couple walked a small, fluffy dog. They nodded and smiled at Leo, their eyes flicking from him to the man beside him. Your concerns, Ethan said, watching the dog trot away, you don't have to say them. I know. I'm just telling you how I feel. I'm not asking for an answer or for anything to change between us right away. But I do have one request. He looked at Leo, his expression incredibly tender. I want to know how you feel. Leo saw a flicker of hope in his eyes, so faint it was almost imperceptible. It was such a rare expression on him. He wants something, Leo thought. And if he wants it, how can I not give it to him? A blush crept up his neck. He took a deep breath, trying to look serious, his gaze traveling up from Ethan's neat collar to his eyes behind his glasses. Ethan's lips trembled, and a brilliant smile spread across his face, lighting up his eyes. Ethan. Leo said his full name for the first time. It was meant to be formal, but it ended up sounding both solemn and slightly ridiculous. Ethan just kept smiling. Can you be serious? Leo grumbled, touching his nose to hide the heart that was about to leap out of his throat. Okay. Ethan cleared his throat and adjusted his glasses. Ethan, I really like you too. The words had barely left his mouth when the world tilted and he was pulled into a tight embrace. It had taken all his courage to say it. His head was spinning, his spine tingling. Over Ethan's shoulder, he looked up at the tops of the trees, unable to tell if this was real or a dream. Ethan's hand tangled in the hair at the back of his head, and Leo's own arms found their way around his broad back. They were in a secluded corner, but even if they weren't, Leo didn't think he would care. He wondered if Ethan, holding him so openly, felt the same. Not caring was often the wrong way to be, but it was also the right attitude. When Leo first came to Lincoln, he had watched an old TV drama in his tiny rented room. He couldn't remember the plot, but one line stuck with him. Go have a passionate, earth-shattering love affair. He had no idea what love was supposed to be like, let alone something so dramatic. A raging fire, he thought, burns down to ashes. What's left? With Ethan, it wasn't like that. It was like floating on a cloud, letting the wind take you wherever it pleased. Ethan was wonderful, and when Leo had said he liked him too, he had wanted to add, it's not because you showed up when I was at my lowest. It's because in all the little moments we've spent together, I've seen your character, your intellect, your kindness, your humor. I'm attracted to you like any normal person would be, not because of my past. Even if my life had been easy, I would have fallen in love with you. But the words felt too much like something a teenage girl would say. He couldn't get them out. And he was different. He was small and flawed. He was what people whispered about behind their hands. He actually had a foul mouth, he just curbed it around Ethan. He was a coward. If you didn't get to know him, he could pretend to be worldly and wise. But to actually pack up his life and move into someone's heart, he felt like his feet were still dirty. He was a gray, rainy day, and he didn't deserve to smudge someone else's bright, clear life. But how could he say that? He knew that if he did, Ethan would just smile that gentle smile and soothe his fears away. But beyond himself, there were Ethan's friends, his colleagues, his father, his daughter, his sister. his late wife, and the young man in Evergreen Cemetery who remembered him still. So many eyes in this world and the next were watching Ethan, and his responsibilities to them would always outweigh his feelings for Leo. And the one thing Leo couldn't bear was to make things difficult for Ethan. When Henry came to visit at the hospital, Cody was quietly doing his homework. Leo had just finished feeding his brother dinner. His brother's hands, which couldn't even hold a spoon when their mother was there, could now weakly grip the handle. He still trembled, spilling food all over himself, and would get frustrated and want to give up. But Leo would sternly urge him to try again. Unless you want to go back to Langford Creek and have Mom take care of you for the rest of your life, he would say, his voice sharp. Then, seeing the lost look in his brother's eyes, he would sigh and patiently clean him up. Henry met him on the open-air balcony. The moonlight was faint. Leo could see that though his friend's face was still pale, some of the old light was back in his eyes. "You sold your apartment. Because of this?" Leo asked. "You didn't tell me a thing," Henry said. "You're something else. What good would it have done? Could you have sold it for me?" Leo raised an eyebrow. Henry laughed. "You could have borrowed money from me." "Don't be ridiculous," Leo shot back. "I know you. You haven't even paid off your car loan. Your bank account is cleaner than your face. Who doesn't spend their salary as soon as they get it? You're the only one who squirrels it away like an old lady." Leo looked up at the sky and sighed. "Yeah, well, it was useless. One disaster and it's all gone. All those years of saving. Nothing left." Henry didn't say anything for a moment, just patted the stainless steel railing. "Did you find out what it was?" "Gins," Henry replied, running a hand through his hair. "I thought, with those symptoms, if it's not AIDS, it's gotta be gins." And it was. Gins? Leo had never heard of it. "Sometimes I wonder if you even have internet. It's a benign lymphogranuloma venereum. Symptoms are similar to early HIV. It's been cropping up in the gay community lately. Is it serious? I have to take medication. I'm not going to die. Just because it's not going to kill you doesn't mean you shouldn't take it seriously." Henry laughed. "And how should I take it seriously? Quit my job? Shave my head and become a monk? Tell my family, 'Hey Mom, Dad, I got a disease from sleeping around, so you can't count on me for anything anymore? Why do you have to be like this?'" Leo said, frustrated by his flippancy. "I meant, you should. What? Have some self-respect?" The words sounded ridiculous said between two men. Leo closed his eyes. "I meant you should take care of yourself. Find something that matters to you and protect it." For once, Henry didn't have a sarcastic comeback. He just looked at Leo for a long time. "Thanks," he said quietly, his voice unusually sincere. "Seriously. Thanks for still giving a damn about a screw-up like me." He ruffled Leo's hair. "The black looks good on you. Clean. You look nothing like me." They chatted for a few more minutes, and the topic of housing came up again. Henry snapped his fingers. "Oh right. I almost forgot. Have you found a new place to live yet?" Leo nodded. "Well, the old man who bought your place, his son just came back from overseas. They want to renovate before they go back, which means they need you out as soon as possible." The old man felt bad about going back on his word, so he asked me to talk to you. "I found a place. But you can't move in yet?" Henry asked, hearing the hesitation in his voice. "I can ask around for you. If you need something quick." "No, I can move. I can." "Really? Really?" It was an old habit, putting on a brave face. It was only when he went back inside and saw Cody that he felt a pang of regret. He was the one taking advantage of someone's kindness by staying. If it were just him, he could sleep in a McDonald's. But he had promised to take care of Cody, and now he didn't even have a place for them to live. He paced back and forth in the bathroom, running his hands through his hair in frustration. His phone rang. He answered it, his voice sharper than he intended. "What?" There was silence on the other end. Leo looked at the caller ID and his heart skipped a beat. He took a breath. "Professor Zhang. I thought you were angry with me." Ethan's low, calm voice came through the phone. "I was worried I called at a bad time." Just like that, the dark cloud over Leo's head lifted. The sound of his voice was like a cool breeze on a clear night. "No," he said, his own voice softening. "You can call. Anytime. I'm always happy to hear from you." Ethan chuckled on the other end, a soft sound that felt like a breath against Leo's ear. "What if I wanted to see you?" Leo thought for a moment. "Tell me where. If it's convenient, I can come to the university or your house." "That wouldn't be right." "Why not?" "Because I was the one who said, I like you first. So I should be the one pursuing you, right?" Leo felt his face flush. He squatted on the floor, covering his mouth to stifle his laughter, his shoulders shaking. Full marks on the sweet talk he managed to get out. "You've earned your green card. So, are you coming down?" "Down where?" Leo stood up too quickly and banged his head on the sink. "The hospital entrance. Just for a little while." Ethan watched Leo run towards him, his short shirt billowing in the wind. His features were deep and intense in the orange glow of the streetlights. He looked around uncertainly, his smile both bright and shy. "You really came. I had to print something out. Thought I'd stop by and give you a hug." Leo almost choked on the wind. University professors have this much free time? Ethan took his hand and led him into the shadows of the trees. "It's graduation season. I'm swamped. I'm advising students on their theses, and there's the graduation ceremony at the end of next month. I'm working nonstop. This is me stealing a moment." "Well, hang in there," Leo said, letting his hand be held. "Every job has its price. Why do you sound like my sister?" Ethan laughed, turning to look at him. When they were out of sight, he wrapped his arms around Leo. "From now on, when I hug you, it's not just for encouragement. There are other intentions involved." Leo rested his chin on Ethan's shoulder and smiled. "You're so thin," Ethan murmured. "I feel like I could just lift you up." He slid his hands under Leo's arms and did just that. "Hey, don't!" Leo yelped as his feet left the ground. He instinctively grabbed onto Ethan's shirt, his body rigid. "Put me down. Just for a second." Ethan leaned in and pressed a quick kiss to his chin. "You're so light. Just a little thing." The cicadas started to buzz, and suddenly, summer felt thick and heavy. The day his brother was discharged from the hospital, it was raining. Leo ran back and forth, thanking the doctors and nurses, his hands full of receipts and bags. He didn't have a free hand for an umbrella, so he just let the drizzle soak his hair. Ethan hadn't come. Leo had asked him to look after Cody for a while. Linda hadn't officially agreed to let Cody stay in Lincoln, but she hadn't said he had to leave either. Leo had decided to take matters into his own hands. He was also worried that if Cody saw his brother lying listlessly at home, he wouldn't be able to bear to leave. That evening after school, Ethan held an umbrella over two small heads as he led them out the door. The two boys clambered into the back seat. Ethan's daughter Zar was still in a car seat. Cody watched, fascinated, as she buckled herself in. He noticed her skirt was bunched up behind her and silently reached over to smooth it out. Ethan watched them in the rearview mirror. He thought about how similar Cody and Leo were. Their kindness was always quiet, unassuming. "Do you like it?" he asked, seeing Cody surreptitiously touch the car seat. Cody immediately snatched his hand back and shook his head. No. Then, thinking better of it, he added, I do like it, but not in a way that I want it. Dar nudged him with her elbow. You can have a turn next time. I don't want to. It's super hot. Nice try, Ethan said, reaching back to pinch her cheek playfully. You're staying in there until you're 8. He's only 7, Dar protested. Why doesn't he have to sit in one? Cody waved his hands. I don't want to. We'll get a double one next time, Ethan said, amused by the boy's cautious nature. He turned to him. What do you want for dinner tonight? Cody looked down. Anything is fine. I want the wonton soup from downstairs. Dar piped up. I wasn't asking you, Ethan said, gently pinching her lips closed. He said to Cody. Wontons are fine, Cody said, a small smile escaping as he watched Thao struggle like a trapped duck. Cody ate neatly, while Zara painstakingly picked out every piece of cilantro and green onion from her bowl and deposited them into Ethan's. The warm, steamy air of the restaurant was filled with the happy noise of dinner time. A well-dressed man with 2 children inevitably drew some glances. For a moment, Ethan felt the simple joy of having a son and a daughter. But then he remembered the burden. He had confessed his feelings to Leo, knowing full well the road ahead would be difficult. He couldn't just cast aside his responsibilities. He and Leo were stuck in a paradox, unwilling to relegate their feelings to the back burner, but unable to place them before their duties. It was a thorny, unsolvable problem. He knew Leo, with his sensitive nature, had probably thought about this 1,000 times over. He had expected Leo to run, to reject him. His family, his status, they were risks. Leo craved stability. He was not the optimal choice for him. Leo deserved someone unencumbered, someone who could love him with their whole heart and soul. He could be wholehearted, dedicated, focused, but he could never be unencumbered. He was selfish. He wanted to hold on to Leo and never let go, but he knew that down the road, he would inevitably, unintentionally, hurt him. How would he protect him then? Ethan sighed, a sound so soft it was barely audible. But Cody heard it. He stopped eating and looked up, his dark eyes meeting Ethan's. They were so much like Leo's eyes. It was as if Leo himself were sitting across from him, looking at him with concern. If it were him, Ethan thought, I would pull him close and rest my head on his shoulder, just to hear him ask, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Ethan asked Cody with a smile. Cody shook his head. He swallowed his food before speaking. Nothing, Uncle Zhang. He knew his father was being discharged and going back to Langford Creek. Ethan could see the longing in the boy's eyes. You can talk to me, Ethan said, gently brushing his forehead. I won't tell your uncle. Cody looked at him, then down at his bowl. A small smile played on his lips. I was thinking about my uncle. I was wondering if he's working so hard because of me. He glanced at Zar, who was still focused on her food. I don't dare ask about grown-up things. But I know a little bit. I know Grandma didn't want me to stay in school. She's not a bad person, not really. She's just trying to do what's best for my uncle, and for me. People say bad things about her. But I know what she's thinking. Really. My uncle has always been good to me. All my clothes, my books, my toys, he bought them for me. I heard a classmate say that transferring into the honors class costs $3,000 in fees. My uncle only said it was $2,000. I know he paid the other $1,000 himself. I didn't tell anyone. I know he loves me the most. He's better to me than my own dad sometimes. I love him the most. When he said the word love, he smiled shyly, as if it were a secret. I want to study hard to be successful so I can protect him someday. so no one can say bad things about him. He clenched his small, wiry fist. But I feel like I'm a burden to him. If I went back, would his life be easier? Ethan didn't answer. It was true in a way. But if Cody left, Leo would be all alone. Cody was the reason he was fighting so hard to stay in Lincoln. Leo's soul wasn't independent. He found his value in sacrificing for others. He was like a child, stubbornly refusing to smile while tearfully pouring all his candy into your hands. I know I'm trouble, Cody said, his voice firm, but I still don't want to go back. I want to study here. I don't want to waste my uncle's $1,000. He tapped the table for emphasis. Good boy, Ethan said, ruffling his hair. He was struck by the boy's simple, powerful determination. No wonder your uncle loves you so much. Cody was silent for a long time. Who my uncle loves is his own business, he said quietly. We shouldn't get involved. Ethan was taken aback. He wasn't sure if the love Cody was talking about was the same love he was thinking of. What? Cody repeated, his voice barely a whisper. Who my uncle loves is his own business. We shouldn't get involved. Ethan looked into the boy's clear, intelligent eyes and was overcome with a sense of wonder. In the most unexpected places you could find the purest, most innocent wisdom. A child's straightforward thinking could cut through the most complex problems and arrive at a simple, gentle truth. It was a truth that many adults, their vision clouded by prejudice and fear, could no longer see. It was nearly 10 o'clock when Leo rang the doorbell. Ethan opened the door quietly. You're soaked. Why didn't you call when you got here? He asked, pulling him inside. The kids just fell asleep. Leo changed his shoes in the entryway. Come here. Ethan unfolded a towel and draped it over Leo's head, rubbing vigorously. Didn't you bring an umbrella? It wasn't raining when I was waiting at the bus station. It just started when I got into the city. I should have just driven to pick you up, Ethan said, pulling him closer into his arms. Leo pushed the damp hair off his forehead and smiled up at him. How did it go? It was a long day. Half of Langford Creek showed up at the house to gawk. My head is still spinning. He wrinkled his nose, like watching a circus. Did you hear more gossip? No, Leo said with a laugh. When outsiders showed up, my mom and I were a united front. Her tongue is a weapon of mass destruction. She managed to offend the entire village all over again. What about Cody? Leo slung the towel over his shoulder. She said, if you're going to fight, fight with all you've got. If you're going to fly, fly as high as you can. If he doesn't get into a good middle school, he's to come straight back to Langford Creek and work the fields. And he has to visit his dad often. He can't forget his roots. Really? Ethan couldn't help but smile, taking his hand. It was all thanks to you. You somehow managed to talk some sense into that stubborn old woman. Did she tell you about what we talked about that day? Not only did she tell me, Leo said, his eyes twinkling, she was also very displeased. She told me not to have any improper ideas about you. She said you helping me was a sign of your good character, that you're different from me, a better class of person. She told me not to get carried away and to remember my place. I'm helping you because I like you, Ethan said smoothly. Oh my God, Leo groaned, turning away to hide his smile. You and your words. I know. I'm out of practice, Ethan said, grabbing his wrist and pulling him back. I'm trying to make up for lost time. I'm not used to it. Then get used to it. Ethan turned Leo's face towards him and planted a firm kiss on his forehead. Move in with me until the lease on the other place is up. Okay. Roommate or live-in boyfriend. It was a matter of semantics. To his surprise, Leo only thought for a moment before smiling and saying, okay. Ethan couldn't believe it. He had expected him to agonize over it for days before reluctantly declining. Moving in together was a serious step. It meant revealing the most mundane, authentic parts of yourself to someone else. Values, habits, things you can't see from a safe distance, they all get washed clean under the same roof. It's only when your lives are truly intertwined that you can know for sure if it's like, or if it's love. Distance creates beauty, but you can't live your whole life in a platonic fantasy. You have to take the plunge, with hope and fear and longing, into the messy reality of everyday life. To be able to hold him at night, to see him wake up in the morning, even just for a month or two, was a chance to sketch out the shape of a shared future. Life seemed to be falling into place. Ethan was still busy, and Leo had to start over from scratch. His savings, his job, Cody. It was like rebuilding a collapsed tower of blocks. And now there was a new block, Ethan. He wanted to place it carefully at the very top, the most precious one, the one with the most beautiful color and shape. The day he moved, Ethan rushed over from a faculty meeting, his tie undone, having skipped lunch. "Do I still need to change my shoes?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe with a playful smile. "Yes. Even if this place were being demolished this afternoon, you would still have to change your shoes." Leo set a pair of slippers on the floor for him and looked up from his crouching position. "I just mopped." All right. Ethan bent down. "I have a feeling that when you move in with me, you're gonna scrub my entire apartment from top to bottom before you can relax." "I won't touch your things without asking," Leo said, his head bowed. "But if you agree, I'll keep the place spotless. Can cook too. So you and Zal don't have to eat takeout all the time." Ethan smiled and reached out to touch his face. "If you're going to take such good care of me, I won't be able to let you go in August." Leo smiled and leaned into his touch, then sighed softly. "Let's see if you can still stand me by then, Professor Zheng. You might get to know me better and not be able to get rid of me fast enough." Ethan didn't answer. He just cupped Leo's face in his hands. "Can I kiss you?" Leo instinctively flinched and squeezed his eyes shut. He waited, but the kiss didn't come. He peeked through one eye. Ethan was just looking at him, a tender smile on his lips. His thumb gently stroked his bottom lip, then moved to the delicate skin under his eye, as if trying to smooth away the faint, bluish shadow there. Leo's breath caught in his throat. He looked down, his eyelashes brushing against Ethan's finger. "You." When Ethan's shadow fell over him, Leo closed his eyes again, his heart pounding. He wanted it, and he wanted to push him away, frozen with indecision. Ethan wasn't gay. Leo knew that, on a purely instinctual level, he probably didn't have any secret desire for physical contact with another man. A kiss on the forehead, the cheek, that was one thing. But a kiss on the lips was different. Crossed a line. It was about desire. The kiss landed on his left cheek. As always, it was controlled, gentle, and full of affection. As he pulled away, he whispered in his ear, "Don't be afraid. We can wait." Leo knew Ethan hadn't eaten, so he made him a plate of dumplings. He had a box of them in the freezer. His ears were still red from the almost kiss. Ethan watched him pack, watched him carefully fold his clothes into a suitcase. He looked at the empty plant stand by the window. It had once been full of lush greenery. Now it was bare, a lonely silhouette against the afternoon light. Leo had loved those plants. "We'll buy more," Ethan said. "Huh?" Leo called from the other room. "I said we'll buy more," Ethan repeated with a smile. "There's a flower market near my place. We can go in the evenings. You can pick out whatever you like." Leo leaned against the doorframe, his head resting on his hand, and smiled back. "That sounds more tempting than use my CR card." If you're so tempted, come here for a second. Why? Leo walked over and was suddenly pulled into a tight hug. He laughed, exasperated. I never knew you were so clingy, Professor Zheng. He patted Ethan's back. I can be even clingier. You'd better prepare yourself. Ethan's chest vibrated with laughter. Am I shattering your illusions? Do you realize I'm just a smooth-talking old lek? A little. You're actually admitting it. You're supposed to say no. Leo laughed into his shoulder. I wasn't finished. I was gonna say a little, but what? I can't say it when you're looking at me. Ethan obediently turned his head away. Okay, I'm not looking. Go on. Leo hesitated for a moment, then took a breath and whispered. But, no matter what you're like, I still think. He trailed off, his voice catching. Ethan's shoulders were shaking with suppressed laughter. I still like it. He buried his face in Ethan's shoulder. That was so cringe. I don't know how you can say these things without blushing. That's it, Ethan said. I've decided. You're even cuter now. I'm just going to kidnap you. Forget about packing. Let's go home now. You can't be serious. I haven't even figured out what to tell Cody yet. I haven't told Zara either. Well, maybe you should go home and give her a heads up, and I'll talk to Cody. Nope. You're coming with me today. You're unbelievable. Not at all. My heart is completely full of you right now. Oh, for God's sake, Leo sighed, clutching Ethan's shirt. I think I'm going to die. Leo really didn't understand why Ethan liked him. It was a mystery. Being held by him was like holding a dream. It was like reaching a safe, dry shelter after a long and arduous journey. He felt a wave of exhaustion and relief so profound he almost buckled at the knees. There was a big, empty space inside him, a place that was always cold and damp. Nothing grew there. No one had ever tried to till the soil to plant seeds, so no flowers could ever bloom from the dust. And then, suddenly, to be told so earnestly that he was liked. It was a joy so overwhelming it made him want to cry and laugh at the same time. It was like the June sun, drying up all the dampness after a long rain. A warmth so complete and enduring it was hard not to just melt into it. Am I worthy? Do I deserve this? You can have anything you want. And I have nothing. These were the questions he always wanted to ask but never did. Perhaps it was because he believed Ethan was so wonderful, so trustworthy. And he knew that Ethan would not say like lightly, especially not to him, an exception to all the rules of his life. If he said it, it must mean that there was something in Leo that shone, something even he himself couldn't see. And so, alongside the joy, there was a deep, unspoken gratitude. Gratitude that someone like Ethan could see a different version of him, a version worthy of being cherished. So even if it was a dream, he wanted to keep dreaming it. After all, in a dream, no one ever thinks about what will happen when the sun comes up. He moved his things into Ethan's apartment. It was filled with books, novels, poetry, essays. They were stacked neatly on the coffee table on the desk in the study. Each book was pristine with a clear cover, the bookmark tassel still flat. Leo flipped through a few pages and saw neat, occasional annotations. On the flyleaf of each one, in the bottom right corner, were 3 small letters, EZS. He thought that even Ethan's initials were handsome. He thought back. Ethan didn't have a particularly bookish air about him.